Hey everybody, this is Perch. I've done videos talking about the state of how creators are viewing fans and how their people are confused by things and so on. I also read you the note, if you may have missed it, I don't know, of basically from an editor who's leaving, talking about how there is trolling that goes on inside the publishers, how there is an attempt to play this game. Um, I want to do this video a little bit from the perspective of the fans, and maybe fans is the wrong word. I know when I did that interview with Sean just several interviews ago, not the most recent one, and he had the good point of well, they're not fans, they're customers. I mean, in many cases, it's people spending the money. I think that's half true. There are certainly people who are buying the comics who are shelling out money. There are also people who are fans of the characters who are no longer shelling out the money, but would like to if they liked what they were being set up to read. So I think you actually almost have to talk about both groups and think about both groups. But this video is kind of more aimed at trying to understand that group. And I guarantee you some people are going to come in and tell me I've got it wrong. That's okay. I'm walking into this video expecting that, and that's fine. I think I believe everything I'm about to tell you. So it is what it is. Um, Whether or not people are ready to accept that is a different story, or whether you happen to be one of the outliers, fine, 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 fine. But, you know, if you're a customer, if you're a fan, and so really quickly before I get into it, where I'm coming from, or rather, I'm going to read out my credentials for making the statements I'm about to make. I've sold more comics to people, to actual human beings, than I'm guessing most of the people on YouTube who talk all the time. I'm sorry, I have. I have personally, somebody has given me cash and I have handed them a comic way more than I'm pretty sure just about anybody else who's regularly doing a channel. I don't care how many comics you've sold on crowdfunding, I've sold more. I Over my course of my life, I've sold well into a million, probably more comics to people. I mean, I was having an argument with somebody at one point, and they were saying, I've sold more comics than you. And it's like, dude, your crowdfunding campaign sold I don't know, like 12,000 comics, actual comics. 12,000. That's a lot. I will tell you, on the day the Death of Superman came out, the Death of Superman, I personally sold 20,000 copies of that comic on just that one. So, yeah, I'm measuring my dick at this point. It's fine. But I've dealt with a lot of customers, people that come in and hand money and get comics. And by and large, customers and or fans, they're not that hard to figure out. They tend to have a couple motivations. They're coming in either because they're really excited about the comic and the story and where it's going. So they're very anxious to get the next fix, to get the next installment of the story. They want to know what's going to happen with this thing they've been reading. That, by the way, is the healthiest fan. That's the one I like the most. When I'm selling comics to people, that is the fan that tends to be the most reliable, tends to be the one that you can predict when their interest is coming or going. That is the person who is doing the healthiest business with you. Then there is the collector or speculator. This is a person who is coming in solely motivated by the idea that this comic could prove to be more valuable. Now, back in the day, they used to buy multiple copies of the book. Today, they tend to make sure they secure the most exclusive, most prestigious version of the book. This is the person who's going to be motivated by the variant cover or the very limited edition. They're kind of in a FOMO world. They're in fear of missing out of a financial windfall. So they're speculators who are buying that. And then there's the apathetic audience that is coming in buying the run. In their heads, they have determined that in order to hold on to, for a variety of reasons, my childhood, something that I enjoyed once upon a time, or a collection, an unbroken run. There's a lot of different reasons why people come in and they say, I want to make sure no matter what happens, that every issue of Batman I own. So, put me down for it. And the passion of that audience comes out when they come in and say, I'm looking for a issue in my run I don't have, an issue from the 60s. I'm looking for a super exclusive version of Batman. That is the most passion you're going to see out of that person. That person has zero passion for 2023 Batman. They're just going through the motions because they want to keep their run unbroken. Again, they want to have this connection to their childhood. Very common behavior in customers and fans, and if this is you, by all means, chime in. But a very common behavior is that you miss your childhood. You miss these memories that you have of going to the comic shop, getting comics, reading these comics, reading for the first time. I have no idea. Robin getting killed by the Joker, or Bane breaking Batman's back, or who knows what your fond memory is of Batman. But you have one, and you love that memory so much that you are going to continue to buy comics long past the expiration date, long past when you want to, purely because if you stop buying them, it's like you're giving up on your childhood. It's like you're giving up on that good memory. It's people have a hard time. It's the same mentality that caused people to, keep hoard stuff, keep stuff that they don't need. You ever met somebody who has and maybe this is you have every birthday card you were ever given? You have every anniversary card, you stored them in an envelope. That's that mentality. It's that I need to hold on to this, because if I don't hold on to this, it means I don't love the person as much, or I don't my birthdays don't matter, or it's that kind of mentality. Now, unfortunately for you, the customer, the fan, the publisher is kind of counting on you. You're their audience, whether they admit it or not. You're the audience they care about the most. You may say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, actually, you, the person who doesn't really care about the product but's going to buy it anyway, because you need to, you just need to keep that run going, because if you don't, it means you've given up on your childhood. You are the person that's going to buy that comic if it's $4.99, $5.99, $10.99. As you've gotten older, you're making more money. You're going to find a way to keep buying that product. By the way, I think I'm probably violating an NDA there, but I've been drinking, so fuck it. I'm just kidding. I'm driving around. I wouldn't drive drunk. That's completely irresponsible. I would never do that. Anyway, there's a lot of people who are listening to this just like, holy shit. It is funny. I moved to Texas, where there's a fatality on the road every single day. So if my channel ends one day, you'll know that the Darwin Awards took hold, and the channel's done. This took a dark turn all of a sudden. Anyway, there's a company I worked for. I've mentioned it in the past, so you can put the dots together, where nostalgia customers were key to their business model, and it still is, by the way, to this day. And they would come up with ways to say, how do we install a fear in the customers? How do we install a concern that if they stop buying our product, if they walk away from us, their childhood is dead? How do we double down on that concern? That is our most powerful weapon as a company to keep getting that money. Well, I hate to break it to you, but a lot of the big publishers out there are using that business strategy. That is exactly what they're doing. They know look, they may have fantasies about getting this super cool new audience. They may have fantasies about, one day, making the current audience they have, like 30 and 40-year-old collectors, making them happy. They may have a lot of kind of different views of where it can go. But at the end of the day, the audience that they're counting on is the audience that has been collecting comics for 20 and 30 years and is so connected to comics that they even if you're one of these people, you show up in my comments all the time, like, I've cut my Marvel list down to only 3 titles a month. Whenever I see that comment, I always think to myself, what's going on with the 3 titles? Like, why 3? if you say people say in the comments, they'll say shit like the woke Marvel has is all in on the alphabet people, and they're just doing this and that. I'm only collecting 3 titles a month. I always think to myself, what are the 3 titles? Why are you collecting 3 titles? If you feel this way about the company, why is that number not 0? And don't get me wrong, I think you should collect what you like, but I find it weird to think that you hate a company, you think that it's completely against your personal beliefs and your ideology, but you're still buying 3 comics a month? Really? It's like $15 a month you're giving that company. Did you realize that for that $15 a month, you could join any number of porn sites? They'll give you unlimited porn for that dollar amount. What is I like? Who's this? Brazers. I think you give Brazers like $15 a month. They'll give you a shitload of porn. You're buying 3 comics with that, and you hate the company. What are you doing? I'm just kidding. Who would pick porn over comics? Anyway, you are probably, whether you want to admit it or not, this may be tough for you to admit, but I promise you I will be proud like a father is of their son when they ride a bicycle for the first time. I will be proud of anyone in the comments who admits, yeah, I don't like this company. I don't like the comics. I'm spending money on them anyway because I want to keep my run unbroken. And the reason I want to do that is because if I stop buying comics, it means I'm walking away from a memory, from a key emotion in my childhood. And I'm not ready to do that yet. Like, look, I loved comics, and I was in college, and I had a great time, and I had lots of crazy unprotected sex, and I never got any kind of diseases, and it was wonderful. I'm not speaking about myself. Well, wait a minute. I never had. You know what? I'm just going to stop the conversation right there. Never had to take penicillin shots. I'll just put it that way. Look, we all have these feelings of these great times, and then we get a job. And then you go into that job and like, my job sucks. My job is like, I work in the accounting department at this stupid ass company. I don't even know what they do. And I make kind of, enough money to do all right, but I'm not living a baller life or anything. And I always pictured in my head that like I'd somehow get bitten by a spider and have superpowers, but none of that shit happened. Instead, I live out in the suburbs, and I have a mortgage and I drive into work and my kids need braces and like, fuck, my life sucks. I'm going to keep buying comics because at least that reminds me of my childhood. Is that you? I'm betting it's a couple of you. I want you to know, and this maybe makes it all so much worse, you are the most important customer to Marvel and DC. You're the customer they're depending on. You're the person that's keeping them employed. Hey, do you like C.B. Cebulski? Do you like Marie Javins? You're the reason they still have jobs. You're the reason they're paid. It's you. You're the problem, it's you. Oh shit, that's a Taylor Swift song. You're the problem. Because you are holding on to your childhood, because you're holding on to these happy memories, you're buying products you don't want. And because you're buying products you don't want, they're continuing to make those products, and they're putting less and less interest into those products because they figured out something. They figured out that you're going to buy that shit no matter what. Now, before you get all pissed off that like, Perch is up on his high horse, I am still buying the X-Men. I am. You know why I'm buying the X-Men? I actually like my life. I have a good life. I love my family. I have 2 good daughters. I don't worry about braces. I just certainly don't work in accounting. I'm doing great. But you know what else? I have memories of going to a mountain, like a what the hell, like a ski town store. There's a special name for this. It's escaping me right now. But they had comics in there, and I remember buying the X-Men. And I remember buying these comics, and I remember like Paul Smith is doing X-Men comics. Yeah, I know this dates me. And I remember Barry Windsor Smith does an issue. I remember picking that thing up, and I'm like, holy shit, I love this comic. And then John Romita Jr. came in, and he was exciting, and Mark Silvestri. after that. And I remember buying these comics, and I had great times. I remember sitting in the back of a Chevy Blazer, reading this comic, and just like going, wow, this is so cool. My mind is going in a bunch of different directions. I love this stuff. I love it. This is a cool era of the X-Men. And I remember thinking, and as I would go on in my life, I ran a shop, I did consulting. Once I got on a plane, I could tell you this story. I got on a plane to go to Israel, and I had a meeting in Israel. And I remember going into a restaurant and them saying, hey, we're going to seat you outside on the balcony. And I go, I don't want to sit on the balcony because it's fucking burning hot out there. And I'd like to sit inside where it's cool and shady. And they go, well, you can sit inside, but we'd recommend you sit outside because, this area has a lot of bombing that takes place. And the suicide bombers come into the buildings to blow up. And if you're out in the balcony, you have a better chance of not getting killed. And I'm like, yeah, I'll sit in the balcony. Sure, fuck it, I'll sweat while I eat. Sure, no problem. And then we talked about, localization for server architecture and other things. And I remember thinking, I don't want to be here at all. How fast can I get back on the plane and get the fuck out of this crazy country? While that was going on, I remember very clearly that I had in my luggage brought copies of comics that I hadn't read yet. And I was saving it as a weird treat to myself that midway through my trip, I would celebrate Wednesday by reading the comics. There's no digital at this point. So I'm like, I will read the comics on Wednesday and have a good moment during my shitty trip to Israel. That's how much I love comics. That's how much I love the X-Men. So you're fucking A right. I'm currently buying the Krakoa era of X-Men that I think is terrible. There was Zach made a video at one point, and he mentioned me in the video, which doesn't happen very often, but he mentioned me, and he goes, Perch and Joe are doing reviews of comics. He goes, but they're clearly pirating because no one's spending money on this shit. Well, I'll tell you, nope. I can say with a 100% honest cross my heart, I'm not pirating shit. I'm paying for that. I'm paying for every single fucking comic. I absolutely am. I'm putting the cash out. I am paying for it. So when I say, hey, this is the problem that exists, this is how it's fed, please don't think I'm crapping on you. I'm one of you. I'm absolutely one of you. And if one of you dickheads over there wants to do a little live stream for 8 hours talking about what a pussy I am, and then complain that you're getting victimized by Perch, a guy who has, 1/3 or 1/4 of the subscribers. It used to be 1/10. It's now 1/4. Of the subscribers you do, you should know this. Yeah, I love this shit. I absolutely do. There's no shame in it. I absolutely fucking love these comics. I love the idea. Do I love the actual issues that I'm purchasing right now? Fuck no. A lot of them are terrible. But I love comics, and I will absolutely come to the line and defend it any day of the week. And if you think that makes me a cuck or a pussy, then be my guest, you weirdo neckbeard fucker. I got nothing for you. You're the fraud. Thanks for listening.